You are listening to the New American Media.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking around if you're listening live. My name's Brian Engelman. This is the New American Media, and the show is called Agree to Disagree. We just offered our question of the day. Do you agree or disagree with the George Zimmerman self-defense ruling? Please leave your comments. Click subscribe on youtube.com/The New American Media. Search New American Media on Facebook and like our page. Join the discussion. Find us on Twitter at American_Media_, and follow us there, please. And check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. We're back again with Blake the Eccentric Walley. Radio host can be heard on freedomizerradio.com every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Search his go on iTunes and search for his podcast. Search Eccentric Perspective. His homepage is eccentricperspective.com. And on Twitter, which is a great place to follow him, at eccentric99. Blake, I kind of set up Detroit in our previous segment talking about what happens when you tend to run a certain form of government a certain way for a long period of time. Can you give us the update on what's going on in Detroit?
Well, I don't want to sit and just make it this one in particular a left-right issue or anything like that. I'm just sure there's been plenty of bad policy. We could make that argument, but looks like Detroit is looks like they're done. They're going to file bankruptcy. At least they want to. One of the judges is trying to say that that's not, I guess, constitutional by their state law. But then you got Rand Paul coming out and saying he's got a message to Obama today. You're bailing out Detroit over my dead body. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, I feel bad for anybody. The people I don't want to see hurt are the people that are, losing their pensions and stuff like that. I'm not sure what they're going to do about certain things, but Detroit is just totally a wasteland. I think that's obviously the best case scenario. Best thing they could do is to wipe out all that debt, file bankruptcy, and start over. There's no way that they just don't have anything. They just don't have any industry to make that kind of money and to ever pay that back. So I think they're doing the right thing. It's awful. It's a shame that Detroit has been destroyed. We could say, I don't know if it's just necessarily like democratic policies. I'm sure there's something to do with the unions involved there and some of the greed of the corporations, a lot of the car companies. And as soon as we could sit here and we could make an argument about was it union labor part of the reason paying these guys way too much money and that made cars too expensive. They weren't making good enough cars, and so it ended up shipping General Motors and finding cheaper labor sources elsewhere. It hurt. We could blame of course you had one of the heads of GM that shipped a bunch of these factories over to cheaper labor and then gave himself a $2 million raise. There's problems. There's things to be worked at. It's a shame we're losing our manufacturing. It's a complicated thing. Detroit is just done, and it's time to rebuild it. I guess I don't know what, but it's time to start the process here.
Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with. Outsource a whole bunch of jobs and give yourself $2 million. So you basically kill your entire tax base, all the people that are paying their mortgages and paying their property taxes and spending money in their communities. So you give it to one rich punk who takes it all, loots it all, and just whatever.
Right. But can we pay union people $30 an hour to do really kind of simplified jobs? And
30? I'm talking 60 or 70 when they 60, do when they're doing double time. And just rocking it. Well, it is a very complicated issue, of course, but, and then NAFTA signed in 1994 under Bill Clinton. It's just been a steady erosion of that middle class in the United States where 47% of the people in this country have full-time jobs. The rest of us don't. And that's a weird spot. That does not bode well for the long-term economic health of the entire country, not just Detroit. So, they're going into foreclosure. They went into bankruptcy, rather. Bankruptcy.
They got no way to generate the money to keep themselves afloat. They should have done this a long time ago. And
they need to tax the rich, Blake.
Yeah, everyone's already left. They've had just a mass exodus of people out of Detroit. So nobody wants to live there. It's falling apart. There's just no way for them to make the money like they used to. So why would they? Why wouldn't they? If you lost your manufacturing base and there's no way to pay off all this stuff, then I think it's just best just to wipe out all the debt and start over.
Well, what we're doing right now, we're doing a bit of a top news story extravaganza, Bonanza, buffet, Fiesta, Siesta, what have you. So we're probably just going to do a quick roll around, bounce around from story to story, kind of give you some of the things you may have missed throughout the week. So what else is on your radar? I mean, we'll follow the Detroit story, obviously. I've been following it for a year or two. They first started rumbling about this a while back. So we'll bring you updates on Detroit because, I mean, I spent time in Detroit. I always went to Windsor, went to school at Bowling Green State University, so it was like an hour, 15 away. Our band played around the greater Detroit, Central Michigan, Ann Arbor area. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Detroit fall to hell. I'd like to see it get fixed, but you need a game plan that has a chance of success. And it just seems like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So, I wish them all the best. I really hope they can get it pulled together. But until we get some more information on it, let's bounce to something else, Blake.
All right, well, here's a big one on my radar. Is out of the Weekly Standard yesterday. It's Congressman Frank Wolf made a big announcement that the survivors of Benghazi have been forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. So this is a bombshell. So maybe you're wondering why they want to hype up this Trayvon thing. I don't know. Is this a distraction from something like this, which could actually, completely bring down the administration?
What's the man's name in the Congress? Wolf? Who is it?
Frank Wolf, Republican, Virginia.
Okay. And
so I'll give you the quote here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll just read this. On Tuesday, his words here. On Tuesday, I raised the question of why none of the Benghazi survivors, whether State Department, CIA, or private security contract employees, have testified publicly before Congress. I think a lot of us have. But getting back to Frank Wolf, according to trusted sources that have contacted my office, many, if not all of the survivors of the Benghazi attacks, along with others at the Department of Defense, the CIA, have been asked or directed to sign additional non-disclosure agreements about their involvement in the Benghazi attacks. Some of these new NDAs, as they call them, I have been told were signed as recently as this summer. And he goes on to say, it was worth noting that the Marine Corps Times yesterday reported that the Marine colonel, whose task force was responsible for special operations in northern and western Africa at the time of the attack, is still on active duty despite claims that he retired and therefore could not be forced to testify before Congress. So if these reports are accurate, this would be a stunning revelation to any member of Congress. Any member of Congress that finds this out, and also, most importantly, to the American people. It also raises serious concerns about the priority of the administration's efforts to silence those with knowledge of the Benghazi attack in response. I will end there.
Blake, at this point, what difference at this point does it make?
Yeah. So, they're trying to say there's no scandal. I'm sure Hillary would say, oh, it's just a bunch of nothing, or it's a bunch of... Or Chris Matthews could say it's a kerfuffle, but the point is that they are absolutely terrified of Benghazi because this could actually bring down criminal charges against the administration and make Watergate look like I don't even know what I can't even think of an analogy, but it would
how about go
be...
Hold on. Let's do the. I got one.
All right.
How about the intentional? I'm hashing this out live, but I think I got this. The intentional dereliction of duty that led to the security lapses that led to the death of 4 Americans, including Navy SEALs and Ambassador Chris Stevens in Benghazi, followed by repeated stand-down orders given so that they could be allowed to be killed, despite the fact that there were assets and resources that could have went in for help and assistance. And then the ensuing cover-up where a lousy YouTube video was blamed, and the First Amendment rights to say stupid things on a lousy YouTube video were blamed for the attack in Benghazi so that this president could be bulletproof for an upcoming election, which we were in the middle of at the time. Could be compared directly to a third-rate burglary to kind of see what your opposition was up to in the Democratic Party. Watergate was nothing. Watergate was nothing. Benghazi is something, actually, and that took down a presidency. So could this.
Yeah, and so now we've always kind of wondered, where are the survivors? Why can't we get to them? Why can't we talk to them? There's stonewalling every attempt, and as it turns out, they've forced these people to sign non-disclosure agreements. And there was, I can't remember the colonel's name here, but I remember they were saying, I guess I can't talk to him because he's retired. But then it turns out that was a lie. He wasn't retired, but he is going to retire in like 12 days or something. So they're just trying to run out the clock right now. And it's just sickening, absolutely sickening. And it's just amazing that how can the story be like this without the compliance of, I guess, the Democrats in Washington and also the liberal media, who's trying to protect this kind of information. But for them to go out and act like Benghazi is not a big deal in light of stuff like this, it's disgusting that we've gotten to this point where it's all a big charade of politics, left versus right, and not about right versus wrong.
Well, let's take it from NDA to NDAA, shall we?
Fair enough. All right. So there's the NDAA. They passed these. Well, I'll dig into this. They had Catherine B. Forrest, one of these judges, ruled that it was unconstitutional, but it's been changed around. This is a short article. It's from Paul Joseph Watson from a couple days ago. Federal court overturns block on NDAA indefinite detention. The Second Circuit Court has overturned a temporary injunction which had blocked the indefinite detention provision of the National Defense Authorization Act, meaning Americans can now once again be kidnapped and held without trial. So in September 2012, United States District Court Judge Catherine B. Forrest ruled that the indefinite detention provision of the NDAA was unconstitutional and blocked it permanently. However, within 24 hours of the ruling, the Obama administration lodged an appeal, and the law has been under temporary injunction until now. So now Americans can once again, yay for tyranny, Americans can once again legally be snatched off the street and detained without trial based on the mere claim that they provided aid or support to terrorists, despite that being a total violation of habeas corpus. So we'll just say in layman's terms, this is where the 10th Amendment Center is a detailed breakdown of the ruling. In layman's terms, Forrest put a stop to indefinite detention, and then the Second Circuit overturned that. But it also permanently prohibited Forrest from attempting to do so again, ordering her to proceed with the case consistent with their opinion. So, yeah, the tyrants have won. And why would they go to this effort? Why do they care so much? How many people out there are they just so scared of might be associated with terrorism they have to, snatch them in the middle of the night and hide them somewhere without trial, without a lawyer? I mean, this is insane. So, anyway, I don't know what else to get to here. The ruling stems out of course, this is about Chris Hedges, is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who helped file a lawsuit against Obama because they're afraid, because they're the journalists they might how do they know if they're not going to be in contact with somebody, and they're going to say that it's you were speaking with a terrorist. No, you don't get a lawyer. We're just going to hide you until the war on terror is over. So, I mean, it kind of ties into the war on journalism again. So,
well, it does. It does, and I want to get to that in a second. But
yeah.
When you start talking about this, don't forget that Big Sis just took a new job recently. Was it this week or last week? Now Janet Napolitano's leaving Department of Homeland Security, but she put out memos where if you have a Ron Paul bumper sticker, if you talk about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, if you're a returning veteran, if you mention something about the Tea Party, don't forget the IRS targeting Tea Party groups in outright political attacks. These are all potential terrorists, according to Department of Homeland Security, according to the President Barack Obama administration. He's the one that hires her, and she comes up with the directives, and if he's consistent with that policy, that's what they roll with. So, this would be a blanket way to make sure that all these ruckus, people who like liberty and freedom and don't like tyranny and read the Constitution and don't buy into the two-party scam of Republicans versus Democrats, that these are potential terrorists. So why are they doing it? Oh, boy, Blake, I sure hope we don't find out.
Again, we're at another spot where we don't want to go to those conclusions. Again, I mean, it's amazing without getting into conspiracy theory, but you can't. They've never actually come out and given us a good reason. It's just this sneaky stuff they're trying to pull, while we're not looking. I mean, they passed this NDAA on New Year's Eve when nobody they thought wasn't paying attention, but and now there's more of this sneaky stuff. Why do they have to have this on the books? At what reason would they really have somebody and they couldn't give somebody a trial somewhere? I mean, this isn't America anymore. This is a violation of everything. I don't know.
Well, let's go from this to the war on journalism, if you will.
Yeah, good call.
Okay. So, latest
All
on
right.
Michael Hastings,
Yeah.
something that happened in my backyard.
Right. There's been a couple of interesting developments of Michael Hastings. Speaking of the war on journalists, this guy was, and I'll just say it right now, was murdered by the government or assassinated by elements within corrupt parts of the government. They didn't want him. Of course, this guy brought down General Stanley McChrystal a few years ago. Was an investigative reporter with BuzzFeed, Rolling Stone. Was working on the biggest story ever in light of all the Snowden NSA scandal stuff. I don't know if it had something to do with Petraeus or the CIA or some shady stuff that was going on. And he started sending out some warnings to his friends and family. They're coming after me. I've got to go into hiding. I'm working on the biggest story ever. In light of a week from being on Cenk Uygur, the Young Turk show, saying that there was a war on journalism and that all the journalists need to step up and go to war against the administration. If they're going to declare war on us, then we're going to declare war on them, and we got to start releasing all the information. And then a few hours after, sends out these emails and warns everybody, all of a sudden his car he gets into a one-car accident and dies in a fiery crash. And everything about the story is very suspicious. They said he was just, flying around at ridiculous speeds at 4:30 in the morning. The guy hadn't drank in 5 years. He had no reason to be doing that. They said that he hit a tree, but
let me back up. Let me back up.
Because,
let me back up. Number one, I will stop short of calling it a murder or assassination, but I am certainly open to continuing to ask the question because the facts don't quite add up. But point number two, he might have had a reason, and this is something I've been thinking about. He might have had a reason to be going 115 if he was being tailed.
If he was being tailed.
Okay, so there is a legitimate reason.
115, how do you keep control of and this is like on a residential road, right? We're talking about maybe 30, 35 mile an hour zone?
Absolutely, with speed bumps.
With speed bumps? Okay, yeah. So it doesn't, nothing about it makes any sense. And then they said that he hit a tree, but then the tree, there's no damage to the tree, and the engine somehow, this is a brand new Mercedes, somehow flew out of the car. I don't know how that's even possible, and was sitting like 100 feet away from the accident.
I think I said like somewhere
with the story,
40 to 60 yards away, and some people reported that it sounded like a bomb went off, and other people reported that the car was on fire before it hit the tree.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the point is it's physically impossible to have hit the tree without doing any damage to the tree, and for the engine to fly, in a direction that's inconsistent with that. It would just be a lot of damage. It wouldn't just pop out. It's not it's not a Ford Pinto or something. So
that's the backstory to Michael Hastings, but there's something that
right.
just came out recently that's really odd, I felt.
Yeah, it actually is a couple of different things. Some of the latest information, this is from a couple of days ago, that his body had been cremated against the family's wishes. So this is a journalist. He feared a big story could make him a target. There was a bunch of threats going on. He got freaked out, and then all of a sudden he dies in a mysterious, unexplicable collision. Oh, and the police said that they're not allowed to talk about it now. They're threatening reporters that are trying to investigate it. And now it turns out that and this lady is actually San Diego 6 reporter Kimberly Dvorak, who's also been threatened. This is a mainstream journalist, also threatened for investigating, has said that, yes, his body has now been cremated. So
well, let me
why
ask you
would they
this.
do that?
Let me ask you this. Are you sure you're getting the story straight? I thought that Michael Hastings was a former CIA asset with the Mujahideen, and they actually buried his body at sea without any evidence. Oh, wait. No. I'm thinking of some other guy. Who was that?
Right. Who was that? Timothy Osmond? CIA code name Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden.
That's what it was. I'm sorry. I totally got those stories confused. I'm such an amateur to do this on live radio.
Another one that was killed or had their body. The establishment just decided what they would. They knew best with the body, even though it was inconsistent with the Islamic law. They dumped his body into the sea. No witnesses. Nobody knows anything. Yeah, we're just supposed to believe that story. And then 23 Navy SEALs blown up in a helicopter a few weeks later. Yeah, nothing to see there. But this now we were kind of talking off air about this Michael Hastings and why would they cremate, and it brings up a very scary idea of, is it possible that he's still alive and that they may have staged his death? I don't know. Why would they cremate the body without, did they even do a proper investigation or an autopsy? I mean, obviously he must have been burnt up by whatever explosion, however it happened. I mean, he obviously died instantly or whatever was there. But,
actually, didn't the coroner's report say that he died of arsenic poisoning?
Right.
Am I confusing that with another story too?
I think that was the coroner that died from arsenic poisoning, the one that was working on Andrew Breitbart, who they knew died of a heart attack within mere hours of him dying. Just hours before he was going to release some major information that was going to possibly bring down Obama himself. So so mysterious, just journalists just mysteriously dying. And now this one doesn't even have a body now. They're not investigating. Oh, and speaking of that, there was going to be some action, possibly this Monday, about this case, because the wife of Michael Hastings is saying, she's like vowing that she's going to find justice or go after these people. And then he also had his buddy Joe Biggs, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs out of Carolina, that was going to come down to L.A., do some investigating, as well as I guess InfoWars is going to get involved, as well as major investigative journalist, former NSA guy Wayne Madsen, who would be an expert of the situation, to go in there and to start looking into things on Monday. That was supposed to go down, but apparently what I've heard is that the wife now has been threatened so badly that she's scared. So they're just basically trying to scare anybody that's going anywhere near that. But, I mean, how do we allow a journalist to get murdered, basically, in front of everybody? And I'm saying murder because if there was nothing to hide, then they would be forthcoming and say, yeah, it's just a tragedy. No, and here's what happened. I mean, if it actually did hit, if the car actually did hit the tree and the engine didn't pop out, and, there's a story to be made. But everything about the story is suspicious, and then they're threatening anybody that goes near it. So I have every reason to believe that this was a assassination. Now, obviously, it could have been very damaging to the administration of the establishment with whatever story. I mean, he already did bring down General McChrystal, so who knows who he could have brought down with whatever story he was working on. So I can understand why they would want to have him killed. It was just the way that they did it was so audacious, and then they think they're throwing it in our face in some way. But I mean, it's also kind of an act of desperation at the same time. So, but I mean, I think this is a point where we all have to start stepping up. And I was thinking about, driving out to L.A. for this thing, too. I want to get to the end of it. This is something that I think we just have them caught here. This is a moment where we can all band together and say, this is enough. We need to find out who did this and stop this, because it sets a dangerous precedent. And in light of all the basically the war on journalism, the war on whistleblowers, or dissidents of any kind. I mean, we still got Adam Kokesh is still in jail. Barrett Brown, which is another guy that was tied to Michael Hastings, is in jail. Bradley Manning is still. I mean, Edward Snowden is still trying to find a home. I mean, there's just crazy things going on, And it's got to stop. We can't continue to not sit here and not do anything. Otherwise, what's next? Who are they going to go after next? So anyway, I've been yapping a lot.
Well, we can go from one. Well, I mean, there's a line in the sand, and you got Breitbart.
For me, that
you
is
got
my
Hastings.
line in the sand.
Well,
yeah, Breitbart. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, even if these things cannot be confirmed specifically, let's add the totality of maybe 300 of the things that have us feeling, that doesn't seem right. Not 1, not 20. Let's take a few hundred of the weirdest stories and start putting them together. Let's tie all of this together. And if none of it seems right, it's just time to get active. It's time to get engaged. It's time to participate. There is no hiding. You've learned that with Snowden and the NSA. Everything is being saved to be used against you at a future date, or edited to make it sound like you said something you didn't really say, like NBC did to George Zimmerman. There has to be a point where we do something, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want to do something? All right, we're talking about the stories that we're not hearing the Five talk about. We're not hearing Chris Matthews talk about this stuff. So I think we need to keep pushing, and we need to start digging, and we got to keep looking. And, we can go from one story that has raised a lot of alternate viewpoints and other ideas and opinions to this Tsarnaev thing, because he gets the cover of Rolling Stone like he's supposed to be a sex symbol. Now,
right.
What happened, I don't know if you saw it today, but one of the Boston police officers released Tsarnaev photos showing him with the red dot on his forehead with a sniper, and he's all beat up and bloody and stuff, where, you want a sex symbol? Yeah, here's what this guy did. And that's actually the first time where I went, okay, the Boston bombing seems to make a little bit more sense to me now. Okay, if I can see these pictures, that seems a lot more plausible that maybe these kids actually did it, versus, wow, I have no idea what really went on here. But there's a few different angles to approach this from, Blake, so I don't know, pick it up from there.
Well, the latest here, there's some very weird developments on this. Now, I happen to think that he's... I don't believe in his... I think there's something about this whole Boston bombing thing that doesn't make any sense. I think these are patsies. I'm not saying I agree with, Rolling Stone deciding to throw him on the cover, but very weird developments. Now, yes, this guy put out a picture of the guy, of Tsarnaev with the dot on his head here, but the problem, it doesn't show any throat injuries. There's something very strange about that, because that was one of the issues, is that they needed to do some kind of like emergency, like tracheotomy type of thing, and that he had a self-inflicted wound. So there's an interesting article people should check out. It's from Kurt Nimmo today out of InfoWars. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's throat wound. It's another government lie bites the dust, and it's another example of why you should never trust the government. Because back in April, federal officialdom told us Boston bombing, Dzhokhar was shot in the throat and unable to talk, and even Massachusetts governor was trotted out to confirm the story, saying as he was in serious but stable condition and not able to communicate yet. They said there was so much damage to his throat that he had to communicate by writing stuff down. There was a British out of the Mirror was saying they thought they placed a gun in his mouth when he was in the boat and pulled the trigger to avoid capture, but it shot through his throat, missed his spinal cord, came out of his neck. What else? They're saying that because of wounds to his throat, he'll never be able to speak again, says the Blaze. The SWAT unit that was actually there, the officer, Jeff Campbell, said Tsarnaev didn't have a bullet wound in his throat but was cut. And he quotes, and he was there, "I did see a throat injury. To me, it looked like more of a knife wound, and it wasn't a puncture hole. It was a slice where it was spread open, possibly a piece of shrapnel from one of the explosives, or it looks like maybe they sliced his throat so he wouldn't be able to talk." So now they have a photo of Tsarnaev allegedly surrendering, taken by, Massachusetts State Police photographer. exactly how you said it, Brian. But I don't know. There's too many issues with this story. Now there's eyewitnesses saying that the guy that's in trial right now he doesn't quite look like this Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. His body language is different. He's got a thicker accent, and now all of a sudden he can talk. So more things to dig in. And of course, you got a couple of one of the other witnesses that the brother's friend that was murdered by FBI agents. You had a couple of FBI agents that were working on the case that mysteriously died in a helicopter training accident. The Boston bombing has a ton of holes in it, and it's just another one of those things that we can't take the government's word anymore on anything, and we have to kind of investigate it ourselves. So jury's still out. Have no idea how this is going to play out, but more shocking and weird developments. What else is new?
Well, yeah, I think the story of that guy who was being. Do you have his name in front of you? I don't recall the one that was killed by the FBI agents when he was being interrogated. He's in custody.
I don't have it in front of me. No, one of his one of the buddies of the other brother, I believe, and I forget where that was. But he said that he was scared that the FBI was going to murder him, and of course they did. And then they said it was in self-defense, even though the guy wasn't armed, and they shot him like 6 times. Very weird. And no, I don't have that.
Ibrahim Todashev. Ibrahim Todashev, friend of bombing suspect Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who was about to sign a murder confession when he turned a table on an agent. The agent fired as many as 7 shots. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Was the agent standing his
killing
ground?
Witnesses, killing people that... cutting their throat out so they can't talk, but then all of a sudden now, I don't know. It's so bizarre. So for all I know, Michael Hastings and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev are both sitting in Gitmo right now with under NDAA, and who knows? They cremated. Who knows whose body that is, and who knows who's in court? Dzhokhar the decoy. I have no idea. So very weird stuff, but far from over.
I mean, is it possible that Bin Laden, Michael Hastings, and Tsarnaev are all being tortured indefinitely under rendition in northern Africa or down in Guantanamo Bay? I mean, is that something like that even possible? We're actually having to have this discussion, Blake, which I believe is ridiculous and crazy.
No, not Osama. I think he's. I do believe he's definitely dead, and he would. No. But the other 2 guys, I don't know. When they cremate the guy's body and say that's who it is, then you just don't know. And if there's why is one of a former friend of the Dzhokhar saying that the guy in trial is not him? So who knows?
Say that last part again. The friend of Tsarnaev.
Yeah, as a friend, he was a former wrestling teammate that was there at the trial and says, that's not the guy. That's not him. Something's very weird about that. He speaks differently. His body language is different. So is that him? I have no idea. And then what happened with the throat injury then? So you can't. Unfortunately, we just live in that world where we can't believe the government, we can't believe the media, we can't take their word for anything, and we have to investigate things for ourselves.
Well, then maybe we should just trust them with everything. Then maybe they'll just figure it out, right? Wouldn't that just be easier?
Just pick a side, either Fox News or MSNBC, and then just let them do all the thinking for you, and then it's good.
Hey, we only have about a minute and a half left. Tell me about the TSA searching cars and these license plate readers. While we're talking about trusting the government, real quick before we bounce.
Right. Well, everyone knows that there's the metadata thing that with the phone collection records. Finding out who you're calling and for what kind of durations. Well, there's also license plate scanners. I believe it's in about 38 different states, and they keep track of. They basically take a little picture of you every time you drive by, and they kind of they can just develop patterns of where you're going to be, what time. And it starts to get kind of creepy, the amount of the kind of police state they're kind of building up, even though it might not sound that bad. It's just that the fact that you're being tracked everywhere you go, which is pretty weird. The TSA thing, just in a nutshell, real quick, they are, if you go to the airport and park your car and use valet, apparently they think they have the right to search your car. So that was kind of a interesting story that I saw over this week. So it's just more ways of them getting in your business and just finding any excuse to see if you're a terrorist, I guess.
Well, Blake, let's do this. Let's give everybody an excuse for them to get into your business. Tell them about what you're up to, where they can find you, and stay connected with you as we wrap up today's program, sir.
Well, the best place to find me would probably be on Twitter at eccentric99. I do have a website, eccentricperspective.com. Haven't really updated it in a while, but if you've never seen it before, you should. What else can I say? Yes, I do a radio show Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's called The Eccentric Perspective, and it's on Blog Talk. It's also on freedomizerradio.com. And you can find the podcast over at iTunes by looking for Eccentric Perspective. And I think that's all, Brian.
Rock on. Well, Blake,
and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's always good having you over here on Agree to Disagree. And who knows what craziness we're going to be able to talk about next week. That's the funny thing about the radio and news industry. Just give it a news cycle, and you're always going to have new material. It's insane.
Right.
So hey, it's always good bouncing ideas off you, whether we completely agree or we're kind of like dancing in that middle ground where we're both kind of curious and not sure if we believe an official story or if we're smelling a rat. But I'll tell you what, I mean, there are definitely a lot of important stories out there that you stay on top of, and you help me stay on top of it. So it's always a good time having you on the program, and we'll do this again soon. Okay, man?
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.
Take care, Blake. That was Blake the Eccentric Walley. As he mentioned, please follow him, sign up, do all of those grand things that he mentioned. Definitely have a lot of contributors over to the New American Media, people that contribute with us and help us stay on top of the news. And we want you to stay connected with us as well. A lot of places you can find us. Our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Stop by, check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Subscribe to the channel, please. I think our next milestone is going to be 500 subscriptions, along with our 100,000 some video views. So help us meet that goal. Share it with your friends. Go on Facebook and search The New American Media and like our page. And then join the conversation over there. And follow us on Twitter at American_media_. There's a lot of different avenues that we get stuff out. We do live radio. We embed all this stuff. We do different interviews and find different stories on Facebook and Twitter. So you're going to get a different experience on all of these platforms. So go ahead and sign up for all of them. So tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make a hard pivot. We're going to make a transition from politics to sports. And we're going to bring in NBA scout Zach Barris to ask the question, will LeBron wear a Lakers jersey? What? That's not a left field. We'll talk about it. So we'll be right back on the other side. Thanks for listening to Agree to Disagree. Talk to you soon.
You are listening to the New American Media.